Activity Quest, the podcast packed with stuff to do. In this week's episode, Adam's off to try some marmalade sandwiches and meet a very famous bear. Alright, my name's Bex, and every week we go up and down the country on the quest for something epic. So, I want to know, you tell me, what does Windsor Gardens, marmalade, and the country Peru all have in common? Yep, that's right. They're all to do with Paddington Bear, and they all feature in a brand new hour-long experience that you can go to in London. So Adam did just that.
So I am Nathan Brine, and I am Director of Live Stage Productions at the Path Entertainment Group, and I am the producer of the Paddington Bear Experience.
I went to the Paddington Bear Experience a couple of weeks ago. Thought it was absolutely fantastic. Just talk me through what it is if somebody doesn't know.
The Paddington Bear Experience is a narrative-led, immersive walk-through experience where guests come and are immersed into Paddington's world on a very special day, which is Marmalade Day. And they have been invited to attend the Marmalade Day Festival at Windsor Gardens and to experience lots of things along the way.
Full of familiar characters.
Mm-hmm.
And you start basically in Paddington Station.
Yes. Well, you arrive at Mr. Gruber's Antiques, which is where you very first arrive, and that is the entrance to the Paddington Bear Experience, and very much based very lovingly on the known locations from the Paddington Bear franchise, with a specific focus on the more recent films. So the aesthetic of the entire experience is based around the films. So yes, you arrive at Mr. Gruber's, and then when you go through the ticket booth, you are transported to Paddington Station.
And from there we get on a train. I loved the train. It was very fancy. For a moment, thought I was actually travelling somewhere, which was kind of crazy.
What do you mean? You were actually travelling. You were actually travelling from Paddington Station to Windsor Gardens.
Of course. We get off the train, and then where do we go?
So you get off the train at Windsor Gardens, and that's when you first start to interact with some more known characters. There are known characters from the books and the movie franchise, but there are also some characters that we have created for the experience. But the first known character you meet is Mrs. Brown, and you do meet her on the street of Windsor Gardens outside her house at number 32 Windsor Gardens, which is obviously where Paddington lives. And yes, you discover that all things are go for Marmalade Day, and that they may be running a little bit behind. Let's just say that. So there may be a bit of interaction from the guests to help get set up, because when you arrive at Windsor Gardens, you are the first guests to arrive for the Marmalade Day Festival.
And interaction is, I think, the key word. So this is like part performance, part interaction. It's your job, or it was my job, to lend a helping hand.
Absolutely.
We had without giving too much away, we had a bit of a puzzle to do at some point. A couple of puzzles, in fact. My favourite part of the whole experience was going to deepest, darkest Peru. Talk to me a little bit about that, and about kind of how you turn something that's a really beloved story into something that's three-dimensional and that kind of people can move around and do stuff in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was always our intention when creating the experience to ensure that it was, as you say, totally three-dimensional, totally 360, totally tactile for everybody. So there is very little, if anything, that you are not allowed to touch in the Paddington Bear Experience, apart from, the performers or other members of the train. But yeah, the idea is to really, really create that world and allow you to explore it. And as you say, interactivity is key, both in terms of the gameplay elements. And Peru is something really special to us. I mean, to think that in the middle of London, in County Hall, in a grade 2-star listed building, which I find this fascinating, others may not, But grade 2 star means that this building is under the same level of protection as Buckingham Palace. So it's, iconic and very protected. So the idea that we could create within this space directly over the Thames, Peru, and for it to feel real, and for it to genuinely take our guests on a journey when they do arrive in Peru, and they don't know that they arrive in Peru until that point. It's incredible to watch. It's so wonderful to see people's reactions and genuinely how awestruck they are, I think. I mean, there is literal mouths open as they enter into Peru, and to see that incredible set design that we have, and as I said, the tactile nature of it all. And, our trees, we use 60 to 70% real trees that are in that space. So the only trees that aren't real are ones that we had to fabricate around huge support beams in the building, for example. So we couldn't put a tree there to support the building, so we had to sort of fabricate. But even those are cast from real trees. So the sort of, the theatrical nature of the set design is also deeply laced in truth and reality, which is what, the Paddington Bear Experience should feel for everybody, that you are living in Paddington's London and going through his house and experiencing Peru and going to a real party.
I think one of the most incredible things about Peru as well is so the Peru section is kind of split across two rooms without giving too much away. You do something in room 1 and then you move on to room 2. Room 2 has the most incredible smell to it.
Yeah, it does.
As I was leaving, I was like, I've got to know what that was. What is the smell? Because I want my house to smell like that.
So there's 2 scents that are pumped into Peru. One genuinely is called Peruvian jungle, and the other one is a Peruvian orange smell. So the 2 are linked together because, again, without giving too much away, most of the focus around Marmalade Day is the key ingredient to marmalade, which is Peruvian oranges, and very specifically Peruvian oranges. So they are the 2 scents that are being pumped in, and hopefully, and I'm so pleased that you felt that and acknowledged that, because some people won't realize the true immersive nature of it, because there are varying scents and also various slight changes in temperature of each room and things to truly take you on that journey that is not just visual and oral, but is absolutely, attacking every sense, I guess is the best way to put it.
What's the most exciting part? We've spoken about Peru a bit. I think Peru might perhaps be everybody's favourite, but maybe Peru withstanding, what's your favourite zone or experience?
My favourite. So I have 2 favourite bits in truth, and one is me sitting in the position that I do as the producer, which is I regularly visit Windsor Gardens, which is the very end of the experience. And I do it for a dopamine hit, because the energy of our guests as they enter Windsor Gardens, which is a free roam, large, 3-story high replica version of Windsor Gardens Street. So I love the fact that I can go down there and pick up on that energy of everybody leaving the final location, shall we say, definitely without giving that bit away, into Windsor Gardens. That's incredible for me. And then I do love when you leave the train and you arrive at the street and you meet Mrs. Brown for the first time, because I think that's Paddington Station by design is very real, very, feels like you're in a train station, which different people like different things, but I wouldn't necessarily say a train station is the most exciting place for everybody. So the fact that you go on that train, you have that journey, and then when those doors open and you go, oh my goodness, I really am in somewhere completely different, completely new, and somewhere beautiful. And, that's enhanced by the wonderful soundtrack that overlays the whole experience, and all of that put together makes you feel really magical, I think, in truth.
Do you have anything? I know. As we go around, you can spot some marmalade sandwiches that are sort of dotted all over the place. That's sort of like an extra kind of hidden game that you can play. Is there anything that people should really look out for? Anything kind of secret that maybe you've snuck in somewhere?
There are lots of what we call Easter eggs, and Easter eggs exist in film franchises and everything, but a huge amount of the props in our experience come directly from the film. So they are taken from the film sets and inserted in. There is one prop specifically that is definitely not secret. It's hidden in plain sight. But for any real Paddington fans, like real aficionados, they will know. And you see that in the hallway. So look out for that one. I did actually ask the film producers why this prop exists and what it stands for. And the truth is, I don't think anyone knows, but it's been in Paddington's world since the dawn of time. So that's certainly one Easter egg. But as you say, yes, there are sandwiches. There are some pigeons dotted around that people may or may not see. One specific one with a nod to the animated series of Paddington's Best Friend of Pidgeotton might be around somewhere. So keep an eye out for that. But yes, I would say there's lots of Easter eggs, certainly from within the film franchise, for sure.
And if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, oh my God, this sounds incredible, I absolutely need to pop down to London, need to take a trip to Peru, need to visit, how do they do that? What's the best way of visiting?
The best way is to visit our website, which is www.paddingtonbearexperience.com. All tickets are on there. And there's loads more information on there as well. There's information about the spaces you may visit. There's access information. There's group booking information. There's all the information hopefully you could want to know. And if there is anything on there that you want to know that isn't listed, there's also obviously the contact forms and such to ask us questions. But yeah, paddingtonbearexperience.com.
Thanks, Adam. You can find out more by searching for Paddington Bear Experience. That's all we've got for you this week. I'm Bex, and this has been a podcast from the UK's children's radio station, Fun Kids. Listen to me on your DAB digital radio, online, on the free Fun Kids mobile app, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play Fun Kids every weekday from 4 p.m.